Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I do want to express our continued appreciation to the members of the January 6th committee for your tenacity, your steadfast patriotism and courage, and your focus on the actual issues before the committee, which would be why was there an attack on this building, a physical attack on this building, a physical attack on the Constitution on January 6th, and how can we prevent such attacks in the future? And your focus, despite the intense pressure to block your inquiries and attempts to distract, to denigrate the severity of what happened, to deflect, to throw dust in our eyes, I think is what the chairman said. Chairman McGovern referenced the mental gymnastics required to support Mr. Meadows' claim that he doesn't have to testify in response to a congressional subpoena. He's claiming he doesn't have to testify because of executive privilege, that everything he knows was privileged in some manner, and that's simply not true, I think, as you've laid out quite compellingly. It's a distraction because there's no executive privilege from talking about conversations with people who aren't part of the government. There's no executive privilege for conversations about political as opposed to official activity. There's no executive privilege for crimes against the country. So all of this is just a distraction. But also, Mr. Meadows has already admitted that much of what he knows is not privileged. He's turned over these thousands of pages of documents. He's said that privilege protects his conversations with the former president at the same time as he has embarked upon a tour to sell books about his conversations with the former president. And it's so disappointing, so profoundly disappointing that our colleagues across the aisle are engaging in the same mental gymnastics to assist this stonewalling, to assist this cover-up. Last week we were told that it was premature to start contempt proceedings against Mr. Clark because he had not yet filed a suit to quash the subpoena against him. Today it's been suggested that it's too late to start contempt proceedings against Mr. Meadows because he has already filed a lawsuit to try to quash his subpoena. As the vice chair suggested, they're flipping the burden of proof with respect to who has to claim privilege here. They're suggesting that the January 6th committee has to guess what elements of unprivileged communication Mr. Meadows has when it's actually his duty to carve out the areas that he can't testify about. So it's all completely through the looking glass at this time. And again, thank you for your patience and for forging ahead on all of this. I think it's increasingly clear that the real and very present danger before this Congress and the country is the ongoing threat to our Constitution and the rule of law posed by the lack of a common understanding, which this committee is tasked with getting, about what happened on January 6th, and accountability, which thus far has been lacking for why that happened. It appears that Mr. Meadows is more afraid of the former president than he is of defying a legitimate subpoena. And that's simply unacceptable. And the fact that some of our colleagues appear similarly frightened of the former president as opposed to standing up for the Constitution is also frightening. The fact that any member of Congress is willing to excuse or support a fiction that this was not a serious assault on our Constitution or that there is any legitimate reason to defy these subpoenas is a fair measure of the threat to our democracy at this point. So again, I commend your efforts. I look forward to supporting this rule and the resolution, and I would yield back. Thank you.
Thank you.